different passages in the Gospels lend themselves to certain types of people who, because of their backgrounds and professional experience, enjoy a special insight into what that gospel passage is relating. Think for a moment of all of the agricultural imagery that the Lord Jesus uses in his parables. Farmers, people who work the land, enjoy a special understanding of those passages because Jesus is speaking to their experience and drawing out spiritual insights and lessons from those professional experiences. I imagine fishermen, people who work on trawlers and lobster boats, have a special affinity with those passages of the Gospels that relate Jesus' dealings with the apostles as fishermen. Today's Gospel speaks not so much to fishermen, nor to farmers, but to people who work in what we call the caring professions. Teachers, nurses, doctors, counselors, social workers. Our passage speaks to people in this line of work because in it we see the Lord Jesus confront the veritable ocean of human need and poverty. We hear that in Capernaum crowds of sick and possessed and afflicted people throng around him, seeking relief in their faith that someone very special is in their midst. People who work in the service of others know what it feels like to bear the incredibly heavy burden of the brokenness of our human condition. If you've ever wandered through an emergency ward with a loved one who's sick and had a moment to look at the faces of the doctors and nurses running around trying to respond to everything that's going around them, you can see the fatigue in their faces. It is easy for us to be crushed by that weight. It is easy for us to feel like we are drowning in that ocean of human poverty and need. The Lord Jesus, however, is not overwhelmed or intimidated by those crowds who so desperately need his healing touch. Instead, he takes each one by one. He looks at them. He cares for them. And in seeing him, they see the human face of God and are touched by his loving presence. That same power, that same patience that was in Jesus as God made man comes to us, flows into us, who are members of his body. What is true of Jesus in his earthly life is also true of his body, the church, where Jesus healed and drove out demons and responded to people in their need. His church, his body, does the same thing today through Catholic hospitals, through people in deliverance ministry, through you who care for those who are hurting in your lives. Jesus gives us the strength to bear their burdens because he bears our burdens. He carries us who are called to carry others. That's the only way it works. Otherwise, we get crushed. There's that wonderful line in the gospel where the apostles relate that everyone is looking for you, Jesus. How true that is. When we encounter those who are in need, who are desperate, they are looking for Jesus, whether they know it or not. And like St. Paul in our second reading, we are called to be zealous matchmakers between their great need and the infinite generosity and compassion of Jesus. We are equipped with every grace and every blessing necessary for this work. For we are called to be witnesses of Jesus, the one who carries us and who calls us to carry others through him.